Ask me that question. No, I'm not having any second thoughts about representing President Trump. It is the proudest thing I could ever do. What I am having second thoughts about is the license that I stand here with that the people in there are supposed to have. I have not spoken because I respect my ethics while I'm on trial. But let me now speak about what has happened. I have sat on trial after trial for months in this state, the state of New York. Attorney General Letitia James, and now this. Weeks.
You were watching Donald Trump's lawyer there, Alina Hanna, who's quite possibly the worst lawyer in American history, whined to the press, complained to the press, almost looked like at points that she was nearly in tears after a federal jury in Manhattan awarded E Jean Carroll $83.3 million in her defamation lawsuit against Donald Trump. You heard that right. Donald Trump hit with an $83.3 million verdict. If he's going to appeal that, he's going to have to post a bond at least equal to $83.3 million. The way the jury verdict broke down was $7.3 million in compensatory or emotional distress damages, $11 million in reputational repair damages, $65 million in punitive damages, for a total of $83.3 million in the final verdict. This is the second jury in Manhattan to rule against Donald Trump. The first jury in May found in favor of E Jean Carroll for $5 million. Add up the two verdicts, we're at $88.3 million in verdicts there alone. Let me show you this next clip from E Jean Carroll after that first clip I showed you where she was whining and bringing up New York Attorney General Letitia James. She must be realizing that next week, Justice Arthur Engoron in the New York Attorney General civil fraud case will probably issue a judgment against Donald Trump in the range of $250 to $500 million. So more than $500 million in judgments against Donald Trump are coming. The Alina Hanna specialty, if you will. And Alina Hanna doesn't understand basic aspects of law. As I told you, her corruption is exceeded by her incompetence, and she's probably the most incompetent lawyer I've ever seen, period. The worst of the worst of the worst. That's saying a lot in MAGA world. Here she is whining about not being allowed to bring in certain types of evidence and experts. Watch her whine, and then watch me debunk her whining. But first, Alina Hanna whining. Play the clip.
So don't get it twisted, whoever asked me that question. I am so proud to stand with President Trump. But I am not proud to stand with what I saw in that courtroom.
Ms. Hubbard, is the
I'm not finished. Let me just finish and I'll take questions, please. Before I walked into court, that judge decided that every single defense President Trump had, we were not allowed to raise in front of the jury. It is in writing, and I encourage the journalists, the real journalists, to take the minute to look at his orders. There was no proof. And I couldn't prove that she didn't bring in the dress. There was no DNA. There was no expert. My experts were denied. Two of them were denied to come in.
Well, if you've been following the MeidasTouch network and you've been reading the court orders, Alina Hanna missed very basic deadlines. So if you want to talk about Donald Trump submitting his DNA, Trump did not submit his DNA. Once the evidence closed, he said he wanted to make a deal to turn over the DNA, but that's not the way courts work. If Trump wanted to test his DNA against the dress, he could have done that for years. And Trump decided not to do that. So when she talks about the dress, that was her own doing. That was Donald Trump not providing a DNA sample. Regarding Alina Hanna not being able to put on experts, she disclosed the experts late. she missed the deadlines. And the court explained there are deadlines in federal trials. And if you want to submit experts, you have to do so properly. You have to make appropriate expert disclosures on time, the same way E Jean Carroll's lawyers did. And you did not do that. So you waived the right to bring that. And then in terms of trying to show other evidence, there was another jury that ruled against Donald Trump back in May. There's a doctrine called collateral estoppel, which holds that if there is a jury and a finding that is made of liability, you don't have conflicting verdicts. So liability was established. This case was about damages. Donald Trump had the opportunity to testify at the other trial, and he chose not to. He fled to Scotland, held a shovel, and claimed that he was building things. So this was all your doing, Alina Habba. In this next clip right here, more whining from Alina Habba about Reid Hoffman providing some funding for the costs in the litigation, which have nothing to do with the case. Reid Hoffman funding the litigation has nothing to do with the fact that Donald Trump was found liable for sexual abuse and that he continues to defame E Jean Carroll. Here, play this clip of Habba whining more. Play it.
They didn't let me bring up that Reid Hoffman funded Miss Kaplan. And you know what we got in there? That my witness, who was her friend, who said that she is a drug addict and the drug addict is herself. That friend, I found out in there, was paid for by Miss Kaplan's firm, and that is disgusting. That is a violation of everything I stand for, and that is why I stand with Trump.
It's just MAGA whininess. Whiny, 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 whiny. Here she is saying that she thinks she has a great record on appeal, and she talks about that Donald Trump stood up and he showed up. Actually, showed up and walked out during the closing arguments. He was too scared to be there when the verdict issued. And so he was there for a very short period of time, whining like a petulant child, but would not actually be there when the verdict dropped because he's a coward. Play this clip of Alina Habba.
That was made in there, and the behavior I saw in there, some of which was reported widely today, gave us the most perfect record on appeal, and even if I needed it, which I don't, we were stripped of every defense, every single defense before we walked in there. And I am proud to stand with President Trump because he showed up, he stood up, he took the stand, and he faced this judge. And you know what? I'll continue to do so with him. Yes.
And again, Alina Habba showing she doesn't understand any basics of federal trial practice or trial practice in general. Here she's whining about not being allowed to do things when you have to follow the rules of the court. You know, this isn't the MAGAverse in federal courthouses, okay? In federal courthouses, it is the rule of law. But let's just watch Alina Habba whine one more time. Play this clip.
Twisted. We are seeing a violation of our justice system. Ladies and gentlemen, you are not allowed to be stripped of every defense that you have. You are not allowed to be told that you can't bring it up. And imagine a point where a judge tells the lawyer, before your client, the former president of the United States, the leading candidate and obvious nominee for the Republican Party, before he takes the stand to defend himself, Ms. Habba, tell me the questions you're going to ask in open court and tell me exactly what he's going to respond. And then edited my questions, edited the response he was allowed to give. And guess what my client did? He took the stand. He abided by the rules of this corrupt system that I have seen. We will immediately appeal. We will set aside that ridiculous jury. And I just want to remind you all of one thing. I will continue with President Trump to fight for everybody's First Amendment right to speak. Everybody's a right to defend themselves when they are wrongfully accused and to be able to say, I didn't do it. And to double and triple and quadruple down and say, this is wrong. This is wrong. But we are in the state of New York. We are in a New York jury, and that is why we are seeing these witch hunts, these hoaxes, as he calls them. And this is another one of them. Be brought in New York, in states where they know they will get juries like this.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump posted Absolutely ridiculous. I fully disagree with both verdicts and will be appealing this whole Biden-directed witch hunt focused on me and the Republican Party. Our legal system is out of control and being used as a political weapon. They have taken away all First Amendment rights. In all caps, this is not America. So blaming President Biden because he was found liable in May. Trump was found liable in May for raping E Jean Carroll, and a jury found him liable, and then another jury just found him liable again, and he keeps on posting more defamatory statements against E Jean Carroll, and that's Biden's fault? A bunch of whiny losers. Whiny losers. Whiny losers. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 3 million subscribers thanks to your support. Let's get to 3. 2024. Have a great one.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.